Hello friends, welcome to another video. In this video we are going to install the SH firmware on Ninebot G2 Max. It's the European version, so it goes up to 25 kilometers per hour. And this one is completely stock and we can start right away. And also I want to show you in this video how you can install the SH firmware if you have already the Xiaodash installed. So first thing before disassembling everything is check the serial number, write it down or make a picture because we will need it later. And also you can check how many kilometers you drove already, and we can also later type it in so to have the exact kilometers. And yeah, let's start by putting it on this super cool thing that's from IKEA. I like to use them to flip over the scooter, and then we can use security Torx. I have this set. I will put links in descriptions of everything that is needed. For example, the ST link with needles, some silicone wire. I updated them so it won't break. Everything down in the description. So yeah, let's start. I will rotate it and continue. So let's quickly disassemble this thing. And I made a screenshot of the Scooterhacking Utility to check everything. And I'm not sure if the bolts here, if they are stock or not. Looks like they are already changed. Or maybe the European version has others. Not sure because they are not security Torx, they are like Allen key. But we can still open them with security Torx. Maybe the owner changed them because he told me that he tried a controller from AliExpress, the 40 kilometers per hour version, and he only got to 28 or something and paid around 60 euros or more, and he was not satisfied, and that's why he contacted me. So we will find out. I'm not sure actually. This is the first G2 that the first G2 European version that I'm now opening up. I opened a few global editions, so the G2P that have 35 kilometers per hour max speed. And we will find out if they can reach the same speed, because it is also possible that the BMS is limiting the current earlier at maybe 25 amps, so I don't know. We will find out, because some G30s with the AT32F controller made after 2022 summer, so 6 months or so, I saw a few where we are not able to reach to 45 kilometers per hour because the BMS limited at 27, 28 amps instead of, I don't know, 30, 32, and maybe even earlier. So the settings were like 24 to 25 amps and then plus field weakening. Otherwise, if you had higher amps, let's say 28 or so, the scooter would cut off. And I'm not sure if this is also happening with the G2E. We will find out. So I hope that he did not damage anything here with the wires. I saw one where this wire was scratched because of this sharp edge here, and when you get them out and in you can damage something, so be careful. And I think that everything looks okay. And also, when we get this out, I want to measure the voltage. And this scooter, I would recommend to not fully charge it. So it's better probably when it has around 50%. Okay, the wiring is not ideal. I can see here and here and here it's like squished. This is for the LED, but this one is for the motor cables. And this one goes over. yeah, it's not nicely connected. Looks like this will pull it out. Looks like it's really not connected like this from factory. This is the owner who somehow jammed everything inside here without looking at nice wiring. So later I will probably, when getting it inside, wire it a bit better. So now we can get these bolts down here out. There are two bolts here, one on the left side and one on the other side, and you have to be careful because this grounding cable goes down here, and watch out to not short anything, because when you unscrew it, it will get loose. So I'm making sure to pull a bit on it. So I'm pulling the bolt together with this out. I'm not shorting anything, so now I can just put it over here, put the bolt inside, and now we should be able to get it slowly out. And make sure to not, as I mentioned already, cut anything here. Yeah, it's already a bit scratched, but I hope that nothing can short out. I have to check if there is something damaged already. And this is a bit dangerous with the G2s. On the G30 it was a bit easier. So for example, we can tilt it like this, get it out, and then, yeah, here we have the controller. So I will first unplug this thing, and normally you can unplug it and then start the scooter and see if it starts. On the G30s it will start for a few seconds, maybe 1 second. On the G2s it doesn't start, and I'm not sure if it is discharging a bit the capacitors. Probably yes, but we cannot see it. But we will discharge this thing. I will measure it now and check the voltage right there when it's inside, because the camera is also mounted here and it's easier. So let's see the voltage. I think that you can see it, and if you now work on it, it has 6 volts. Yeah, it doesn't sound like much, but with 6 volts you can still damage something. And it's dropping, that's nice. I'm not sure if it's dropping because of the voltage reading. Normally a voltmeter has a really high resistance, so it would not discharge it that fast. Maybe it is discharging itself because it has also some Bluetooth connectivity that is on all the time. And I read that if you tilt, if you push this down here, the other position, you can turn it off so it not, Bluetooth is not turned on all the time. But I never tested it. So as you can see, we have 4.8 volts. And some components work with maybe 1-2 volts. And if you apply 4 volts or 5 volts or higher voltages, you can damage them. So let's see if it is going to drop a bit faster when I press the button to turn it on. No, it's like the same. And normally, yeah, we can, because it's really not a high voltage. And that's why I wouldn't recommend to charge the battery full, because then the capacitors will also be higher. And we can now, yeah, do it at your own risk. You can use something to short them, because it's not a high voltage now. We didn't see any sparks or anything. In a few seconds it should be discharged. If there's higher voltages, it's probably better to use a resistor. And check now. Now we have still 0.4 volts. So it's increasing now, probably because of the voltmeter. But yeah, we should be good to go now. Let's discharge it a few seconds here. Let's first unplug everything. For example, this thing is also from the battery. So I think it's better to disconnect everything without shorting anything, of course. Be careful also with these motor cables, because it can happen if you like unscrew this. Okay, it was not screwed on that. that tight that it will snap and snap inside here and short it out. It's not that dangerous, I guess, but just want to tell you what can happen. So let's get everything out slowly and carefully, and then we can disassemble the controller. And normally before you can do this on a Xiaodash scooter. So if you have Xiaodash installed already, you have to go to Xiaodash and be connected with the internet. So the app has to have an internet connection. At least this is my experience. Without internet connection, it will not let you to load the bootloader mode. So if you have Xiaodash, you have to go to settings. I'll put it on screen so you can see it, and then start the bootloader mode, and then the scooter will be in a state where you can then get it out, so the controller out, and be able to flash with Scooterhacking firmware, with the flasher application on the PC, for example. Okay, now we have the controller out. Let's check. .8 volts, so we can actually set to millivolts. It doesn't matter, I will short it a bit for a few seconds, and then we should be good. Okay, so now what I can also do, I did it on my bro's scooter, to be able to get to the pins, programming pins. They are underneath here and it's hard. Some people, they print 3D print some parts, and they can attach the printed parts with wires in between here, and then they have a connection. I also saw people that are making holes here, and it's dangerous. If you make a hole, make sure to do something in between here, because when you drill, it can happen when you puncture it, you go through that, you will hit the PCB. So if you're drilling a hole, if you want and do not want to disassemble this, you can also put something in between. But we're going to get these screws out, and later we can get the PCB out. I will show you. And if you want, you can, because you're already opening it, you can use something like this. I will put links in the description. I used here silicone wires because they are more heat resistant and they're like more flexible, and we can install this thing and connect it underneath to the programming pins, and then can put this inside. And if you need to program it again, I don't know, maybe something is wrong or you want another firmware, so you can just get this thing out and program it without getting the whole controller disassembled. Okay, we'll get a screwdriver to open this. So make sure to have a screwdriver that fits perfectly. And these screws sometimes are really not that easy to get out. So you have to apply maybe a bit more force. And make sure also to push downwards in this direction before rotating, to avoid it from slipping and damaging here the screw, and then maybe you are not able to get it out. So there are 4. On this side there is like a sticker for the grounding, and also some people I saw, they are forgetting to connect the grounding again. It's also not ideal if you forget it, so make sure later when you build it together to put the ground wire back on. On this side also these two. And I have to go now down. They have like a working bench. where I can mount this thing and get this clamp out and put or push the PCB out, and then you can go to the PC part, and I will put, I think, links of everything in the description. Also, for example, a good site is Rollaplaus. You can translate everything. There is a good tutorial. I learned a lot from Rollaplaus, and make sure to visit them, and you can read everything. And at the end I will show you my recommended settings that I will also put on this scooter, but you can try, of course, your own settings. So let's get down to get this thing disassembled. Okay, everything is now ready. I will mount the controller now here so it will not move. I cover this a bit with tape so to prevent it from scratching. And the first thing is, maybe you can see it, here's the clamp, and on this side it's like flat, on the other side not, and it holds, so you can see here the MOSFET transistors. It pushes it against the heatsink to cool better. So I'm going to get the side where it's not flat and push it downwards, and you can also check if this part here, the last pin, they're like pins here, if it's down or not. So if this is maybe pushed more inside, this one will fall behind the MOSFET, and if you push it down it will maybe damage the MOSFET. Now it sits on top, so I know when I push it down it will not push against the MOSFET and damage anything. So if it's, for example, too far inside, you have to make sure to lift it up before you can push it down, so maybe you will need help of somebody. And I'm now mounting it so to only sit on here, so this thing, this clamp can go downwards without hitting anything. So it's just mounted, sitting like, I don't know, half a centimeter is hitting here. And now this is for me the easiest method because it's stable and I'm not applying too much forces, let's say, and hitting it. I don't know, there are some other methods also. So I'm going to use now a larger screwdriver, and you can also coat it with something, and then I'm going to, in the corner, let's say, of the clamp, just hit it there, and let's see if I can move it with my hands. I hit it with my hands, no. So I broke the hammer, so I have to use something else. And now I'm hitting it and it's moving downwards. You have to check to not get the screwdriver somewhere and hit anything else that is not, should not be hit. So now it looks good. Only hitting the clamp. That's it. So here it's, and now let's open it, and now you can push it out and you can decide if you want this side where the caps are, and I normally use this side where the connectors are to apply force. And I'm also mounting it, and the PCB can move freely, so there is, it's only mounted on the heatsink. There is, let me quickly show you. As you can see, there is a gap, and if I push it or move it downwards, it can go freely without hitting anything. So here is also a gap. And on the PCB I do not want to push it or to hit the PCB. So I'm going to yeah, I have here some paper normally. Let me get some other one. So you normally use a paper, so it's just to prevent scratches or to the force will be spread out a bit better, I think. And then I'm just getting this clamp here, and the clamp should only move the PCB and not the heatsink. Of course now it's a bit at an angle, but you can hold it in place and slowly move. It will start to push the PCB out. Yeah, that's it. It already jumped. And now I should be able to push it out with my hands. And later, after flashing it, we can build it together again. So now we'll get it out and flash it first. So let's go see if it moves all the way. Yep, that's it. And here are the pins, and we can also solder onto them, and then later it can be easier to flash them again. And normally there is some coating over it, so maybe you have to scratch a bit. Normally with needles it will work, but you can just check out which pins are needed and maybe scratch a bit to get a bit of the coating off. This can also cause a flash to not work. You can see there's a coating onto them. But with needles normally, if you apply good pressure, it is going to get contact. Yeah, let's connect the ST-Link and flash it. Okay, now we're on the PC. Here we have the controller and the ST-Link, and this is just a USB extension cable, so I can connect it. And you can visit scooterhacking.org or just type in reflasher, Scooterhacking reflasher in Google, and you should find it. And you can download the latest version from here. And I already have the latest version. And when you start it, it should look something like this. Then we can select here the Ninebot Max G2, and you can also flash the DRV, so this is grayed out. Then you have to type in your serial number here, and I will paste it in. I already have it. Then you can type in the kilometers, and this actually is already true, 8032F, copy CPU ID, yeah, that's okay. And you can also press, for example, on settings and then show console, so you can get more info. And also you can press, for example, diagrams, and then you can go to Ninebot, and here are some diagrams, and I added some inside, for example this one, and I'm going to connect it like this. So ground is on the right side, 5 volt is here on the right side too, and so this is all the way to the right is the ground, and here all the way to the right is the 5 volts. And then on the other side you can see here is 3.3 volts. So you can actually use this if you make something like this and connect all 4 pins on the back side like this, but you have to use 3.3 volts and not 5 volts like from the other side. So make sure to not put on here 5 volts, maybe we will try it. So we will need only SVDO or SVCLK for this, because the ground we are getting from the other side and 5 volts also. So let me quickly connect everything, and then we can start the flash. Okay, now ground is connected all the way to the right, 5 volt are connected also. Let's rotate it, and I will now, let's rotate it like this so it's easier. Connect SVDO and SVCLK, and then when it's a good connection I have to plug in, probably can do it earlier, but I will later then plug in the ST-Link, and it should shine and you will hear it on the PC, and then we can look at the application and start flashing it. So I'm connecting it, and I want to make a good connection, so I have to press down a bit. Now we have a connection. As you can see, ST-Link is connected, and let's see.
Flashback.
Here we have the G2 controller. That's with Xiaodash in bootloader mode. So the first time we will now find out if we can flash it with Scooterhacking reflasher. So I soldered these silicone wires on, so later I can also flash it easier without dismantling everything. And we have to be careful because the red one now, this is the 3.3 and not 5 volts. On the other side we have 5 volts. So on the S-tailing we have to use the 3.3 instead of the 5 volts. Now it's connected to 5 volts. Yeah, and the colors are not the same because here the white is now the ground. I didn't have silicone wires that are black. But yeah, it doesn't matter. And now we can connect everything. And on the reflasher 1.4.2 we have to select Ninebot Max G2. Then it will automatically select the DRV, and then you can type in your serial number that's on the scooter. The kilometers, this has around 100 kilometers, and it's already pre-selected 8032, and that's so everything is right. So and then when we connect it, we can press launch recovery. Connected everything. I used all the pin that's all the way to the right for the 5 volts. Then on this one all the way to the right is the ground, and they are connected to the S-tailing. So 5 volts is red, ground is the black one. And for me now SVCLK is yellow and SVDIO is green, and I just plugged them in here. And now we can connect it to the PC. Okay, now I'm connected. Let's see. When we look at the PC, I will just paste in here the serial number, and then we can press launch recovery and see what is going to happen. All done, nice, it worked. And now I can assemble everything together. It's flashed, all done, and I can use some coating over this. For example, for the nails, fingernail, this coating that girls are using, something like that, to protect it and to give it a bit more stiffness. And I'm using here silicone wires because they are much more flexible and they are more resistant to heat. And you have to make sure that it's not too long, so we cannot short out anything. And maybe I will solder this red one a bit better, but it looks good like it is. Cleaned it and then just coat it with something. And yeah, let's build this thing together. And this can stay inside, and later we'll be able to flash it easier with a laptop, for example, without having to get everything out and so on. So if you're really disassembling your controller, I think it's not a bad idea to directly mount, install some wires like I did now. Okay, let's build it together after the flash. So here we have to slide the controller inside. And the sticker should stay on. So now it's on. Now it's on. It's flat both sides. And I'm going now to, from this side here, put the clamp back on. So we mount it now. And let's see how we can mount it. Maybe like this. And here is the clamp. So now we can put the clamp on here. So I will put it on this corner first, inside here, and then use a screwdriver, flat one, and bend this, or let's use a larger one. Then I'm going to bend the pins so they can go over the MOSFETs here, and then push down. Normally you can push it down with the fingers a bit. Screw it in a bit more, and then and making sure to bend it like so it can go over. Let me mount it better. And now it's on, and I will just make sure that it is not hitting the MOSFET here. And normally we can now try to push them down. Looks good. So they're on again. It's not sticking out here, and here also on this side it looks okay. So now we can quickly mount these things back on, and it doesn't matter on which side actually the sticker is, because they're the same, and we know we have to put the ground back on. And normally I think it sits like this and the sticker is on this side, but as I said, it doesn't matter. So let's get the bolts or the screws. Do I have the screwdriver here? Yep, I think I have. And screw them back on. Okay, we are back here. Don't forget to get the bolt out. And now I will quickly connect it, and I think I will off camera build it together, or short the video to not get too long. It's just backwards everything. So let me quick, before mounting everything together, just want to check if it works or not. So normally you can check it also without building this together first. Let's connect quickly everything. Okay, as you can see, I connected everything, almost everything. The motor wires are not connected because I want to flash it first, and then when I see that everything works, I can build it in. And actually my recommendation is, if you get it out and get this thing out, to really solder something on the back side so you can later flash it easier. And now, as you can see, I turn it on, it shows a red 0. And now let's connect it to the Scooterhacking Utility. And I already have the screen recorder started. So it asks for one last step. And yeah, let's see. We have to pair with the scooter and press here. So now we're connected. I will turn on the light, turn off the light again. So now we can go to flash here. Actually, we can go, I think, to config, and it will show us that we have no Scooterhacking firmware detected, and it will right away start the installation, or show us where we can install it. Regular base, and then we can start flash. Of course, you can also go to install update SH firmware and then select it. But if you go to config, it will automatically show you that you don't have it installed, and automatically show you what you have to select. Then we can start the flash. Scooter beeped and it's flashing already. So we have to wait a bit. And I have Wi-Fi turned on, of course, on the phone, and locations and Bluetooth. So far everything looks good. It takes a few seconds to install. And after installation, I have to show you a screen recording. I think I will show you a screen recording of the settings, my recommended settings. I will set it up first and then show you. So now it beeped. The SH firmware is installed, and you can see it's 68% battery. And of course we have now to configure everything. So you have to go to config, and of course there are no edited profiles now, and we have to edit them, otherwise we cannot drive the scooter. So read everything that's shown up, and I will set it up, and I think I will build it together first and then set everything up, and then I will show you.
The next day.
Okay, now let's look at my setup. We're here in profile 1, and I enabled here the expert view. Let's look at the throttle. Sport is set to 26 kilometers per hour, 28 amps, and 30% acceleration boost. Then drive 23 amps, 700 milliamps, and 21 kilometers per hour. And in eco mode I set it to 14 amps, speed limit of 16, and current smoothness is 600. Acceleration boost is 30 on all the modes in profile 1. And let's look at the brake. I didn't change the brake minimum speed, and here you can go to advanced and set it, for example, like this, 25 amps. At 1, at 2 is 33, at 3 is 37, and at 4 is 40, and I think you can set it up to even higher values, but I have it like this now. And brake boost, you can also activate brake boost if you need it, but I think it's okay like this. In the normal modes they're not that fast. And auto braking, it's also off now. So motor start speed is set to 2 km per hour. Field weakening is not activated right now. Cruise control is also not active. You can enable whatever you like. And with the modes, yeah, that is open. I will set in the other profile, I will set S mode only, but here I like to have it at last, so when you restart it, it will remember the last mode. For example, eco or sport or whatever. Then with the lights I set it to car, and with the user interface here you can, for example, activate the moto temp and look at the temps when you have it, I don't know, tuned to the tune profile. You can also see if the temps are getting too high, because there is a sensor, or the ESC temp. You can actually set to, for example, motor temp and alternating dash data to ESC temps. Then it's going to switch the red, the alternating one is then the motor temp. But normally in the profile 1 I have everything turned off except the main dash data is the speed, and it shows 0 when you stay, and when you drive away it will show you your speed. And the global settings, profile triggers, I set it up like this. Now currently it's the profile 2, the active profile, but applied profile at boot is profile 1. Applied profile at brake and main button press is profile 1 for me. Applied profile at boot, at brake and main button double press, it's profile 2. And when I'm in profile 2 and I want to switch to profile 1 quickly, you can just by pressing the brake and the throttle, it will, when you hold it for 1 second, I think both together, it will switch to profile 1. But because normally you do not use the brake and the throttle at the same time, so it's also nice. You can switch without having to press on the buttons. And system settings, I didn't change here, nothing with the shutdown delay. You can change it if you want. And I changed here the taillight brightness to 25, so now with the car setting it works. When I press the brake it's getting lit up, and when I release it it's like on a car, a bit less bright. And then I selected spoof BLE version and spoof BMS version, and motor settings, set it up to 9.8 inches, but you can test it for your squid and decide if you have to reduce it a bit to be more precise on the data that is shown on the screen to match the real speed. Halt sensor settings, you can also show the halt sensor settings. Where is it here? In idle dash data, for example, you can select the brake value, and then when you have the expert mode active, you can go to halt sensor settings, and now we can see the brake value that is in idle and it's not pressed. When I press it, the screen will show a higher value. And you have to watch out, maybe if you turn on the light or turn it off, it will also change, so do not reduce it too much. But I want to have a more responsive brake, so I set this one up to 50 instead of 55. You can probably go a bit lower, but you have to keep a bit of a space for safe, because maybe the value will change over time. I saw it on a throttle on a guy. I had to release to increase the minimum throttle value to, I don't know, 60 or something, because the throttle somehow didn't work. It was like used 1 year or two, and it got stuck. When he released it, it didn't go up all the way, and you have always to push it, otherwise the scooter will just accelerate. And so Scooterhacking Utility is great for these things, because normally you cannot do it. You have to replace the throttle probably, and with this you can just increase the value, and then it doesn't matter if it's stuck somewhere at the top and the minimum value is a bit higher, because you can just increase the minimum value and it will still work normally. So yeah, something I want to mention. And also on the brake, I reduced a bit the max brake value, so it will reach a bit earlier the max. Set it to 170, and I know some guys like to reduce a bit the value of the throttle, so they normally select here the throttle value, and then they can see, oh, okay, I don't know, let me check on this one. I have to select, for example, profile 1, then I can see for me it shows 42. When I turn on the light or turn it off, it stays the same, but yeah, you wouldn't set it too low, so it has to be more than 42 for sure. So 43 is the minimum, and yeah, you have to have a bit of course, safety, some air, so you have to set it probably to 45. I wouldn't set it actually to 45, so 50 for me is the lowest I would go, and I would set it to 55 like stock. It's okay like this, but now you know, some like to have it more responsive, let's say to, as soon as you touch the throttle it will accelerate. And if you want it even more responsive, I will show you in the sport mode from the profile 2. Yeah, speed control settings, I didn't change it. And let's go now to the profile 2, the interesting one. So now eco mode, I didn't set anything up, and drive mode also not, and only sport mode. And sport mode I set it up to, yeah, you can decide what you want, but I wouldn't set it too high. Maybe if you have downhill, you drive often downhill and you're getting to 60 kilometers per hour, so you can set it higher. But I have it now to 50. I think it's okay, let's set it to 55. So if you free wheel, it will stop at 55, or should stop. I wouldn't set it to off, because then when you free wheel, it's not needed to go that high. I think it's not that healthy. So this one is now set to 55, and if you want it more responsive, let's say, you can, for example, go here to, now it's, let's go to advanced to show you my values. I have here max value of 32 amps. So if you normally go here to auto, you can build curve and set it like 32, and I had it set to 0.4, so this curve gets flat at the beginning. But if you want it more responsive, you can get it to 0, and then the curve down here is like a line and not like an exponential curve. But if you want to be more precise at lower throttle values, you can go to like quadratic. Try playing with the values a bit, so you have more precise speed adjustments at lower throttle inputs, let's say. And PWM motor modulation, I set it to in sports mode. Some people say that they do not notice a difference. You can try it out. I have it now active, and the acceleration boost is to 50%. Then we have brake. Didn't change here anything, and here I had set it to 42 max. 40 is the 3, 35 is second, and the first is to 24, and this is how it looks like. And of course you have to go to advanced to be able to set this up like this. And I have brake boost now to 20%. Auto braking is off, motor starts with 2, and now field weakening, it's enabled in sport mode. Start speed 20 km/h, initial field current is now 0, and variable field current 1500. Yeah, you can try it out. I wouldn't probably go over 1500, and start speed. It's also not good to reduce it too much. And I tried it out with around 65% battery. I reached, yeah, not 40, it was like 37 or so. When it's fully charged, it will reach more. So it's okay, I think the settings are okay. And I didn't change the maximum field current. Cruise control is, yeah, I have to check if I will activate it or not. And what do we have here? Yeah, this is also important in the modes. You have to disable the modes, only the S mode. That's how I like it. So I have in total 4 profiles, 1 hidden, like say, and 3 normal, up to 25 km/h. Yeah, lights, car. Here I have a battery level indicator, so I know which mode I am. The one with the battery level at idle, I know that is the fast mode. And the one without is the normal mode. And yeah, the global settings, you already know them. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, guys, and for all of you who watched till the end, here is a quick tip. If the screw of the controller falls out all the time, you can use a bit of paper and then it's easier to mount it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.